What would you do if your junior sister had a massive crush on you? And on top of that, she started wearing those kinds of clothes. Only for you. Sounds like a fantasy, right? Today's story is about a crazy, perverted senior brother who tries to dominate the world. All for his junior sister. Why, you ask? Because he wants to do some seriously kinky stuff with her. So, without further delay, let's dive into the recap. We start with humanity's last stand against the demons. The battlefield is a scene straight out of a disaster movie. Dragons soaring in the sky, fire raining down, thunder blasting like some overdramatic DJ set. Monsters? Everywhere. And then boom, there's him, standing right in the middle of this madness. Our protagonist floats in the sky like he owns the place. Spoiler, he thinks he does. He's rocking a sword that's literally on fire, looking down at the city with a smirk so smug it could cause a solar eclipse. Today, he declares, is the day I, the Great One, unify the world. Yeah, sure, buddy. Totally normal villain behavior. Then he laughs. Not just any laugh, a full-blown evil laugh. Everything will be consumed by darkness. With me at its center, he shouts. This city? A flick of my finger, and it's dust. Meanwhile, his loyal minions, armed to the teeth, are chanting his words like it's karaoke night. To dust! To dust! But just as they're getting ready to attack, a brilliant blue light pierces through the air, taking out a bunch of them. It's like someone hit them with a divine laser pointer. The beam rockets toward our protagonist, but he just yawns and blocks it with a casual flick of his sword. Where'd that beam come from? You guessed it, his junior sister. She steps forward like a total badass, her glowing blue sword in hand. Her outfit? Let's just say it's strategically fashionable, showing off her legs like she's auditioning for an action movie and a fashion show simultaneously. Rang Shou Yin, she shouts. Don't even think about it. The two lock eyes. He smirks. Well, long time no see, little junior sister. So, you're the one protecting the city? Puffed. I didn't even bother learning its name. Why would I? In 3 months, I've wiped out 500 cities. Squashing them was easier than stepping on ants. And who remembers ants? She glares at him, probably wondering how she ever had a crush on this guy. Meanwhile, he's just basking in his own villain vibes. But you're different, he says, his smirk widening. I'm in a great mood today. Surrender now, and I'll make you the second most powerful person in the demon realm. Pretty sweet deal, huh? She raises an eyebrow. Second only to you? So, I'd be. What? The demon empress? Cue his minions bursting into laughter, like they've been waiting all day for someone to crack a joke. Unamused, she shoots them a glare that could turn them to stone. Listen, she says, I don't care about rankings. And don't call me your little junior sister. From the moment you went full psycho, I had no choice but to become your enemy. Her eyes light up like she just charged them with 10,000 volts of blue lightning. Raising her sword, she yells, Rang Shou Yin, prepare to die. With that, she launches herself at him. Their swords clash, sending sparks flying like someone set off illegal fireworks. And what does Rang Shou Yin do? He smiles. That smug, villainous smile again. With one light swing of his sword, he sends her flying back like she's been hit by a gentle but firm tennis serve. After being blasted back by her senior brother, our junior sister wasn't about to give up. Holding 2 fingers in front of her face, she made a hand sign with one hand while gripping her sword with the other. Her martial arts activated, and in an instant, countless glowing swords appeared around her in the sky like a deadly constellation. With her voice steady and fierce, she shouted, Blossoming storm of pear blossoms. The sword shot toward Rang Shou Yin like a pyrotechnic display gone rogue. Fireworks? No. Deathworks. Seeing this, our protagonist cracked a grin. Very good. Now, this makes sense. Finally, something worth my time. He grabbed his sword with both hands, his eyes glowing red like he was auditioning for the lead villain in a fantasy blockbuster. Do you even know the price you must pay to protect these pitiful people? With that, he unleashed his own technique, slashing through the incoming swords in an instant. His counterattack surged forward, aiming straight for his junior sister. But she wasn't backing down. As his power roared toward her, she met it head-on with another attack. Her voice rang out as her energy clashed with his. Even if I have to shatter the sun and the moon, I'll see this fight to the end. The two moved so fast that they became blurs to everyone below, their sword energy lighting up the battlefield like a cosmic fireworks show. The demon army below was trembling. One of the subordinates stuttered, I heard this woman has ascended to the divine realm. Her power rivals our demon lords. Is this what a battle between demigods looks like? Suddenly, the sky began to glow. Blinding beams of light appeared, causing the townsfolk below to panic. "Oh gods, save us all!" someone cried out, clutching a baby like it was an anti-lightning charm. A woman pointed at the sky, shouting, "Wait, is that divine punishment? The heavens are striking down the demon lord." As more glowing circles formed in the sky, portals straight out of Solo Leveling. You've read it, right? Yeah. Just like that, the demon army freaked out. "The sky is falling," one screamed, while others scrambled for cover. But Rang Shou Yin and his junior sister were still locked in combat. Suddenly, Rang Shou Yin paused mid-strike, noticing the celestial chaos above. Something's wrong with this celestial phenomenon. Stop this fight at once. His junior sister, however, wasn't having it. She dropped her sword, grabbed his collar, and shouted, "Before you embraced darkness, I begged you countless times to stop. But now, we no longer have the right to stop." Her face was determined, her voice trembling. "I know I can't defeat you, but I can use my golden core to take you down with me." Rang Shou Yin's confident smirk melted into shock. His face turned pale. Wait, that's not what I meant. Our battle as demigods is already dangerous enough, but divine punishment, if this continues." Before he could finish, a massive beam of lightning struck the city. Chaos erupted. The demon lord's subordinates screamed, "The divine punishment is here. I don't want to die." But it was too late. The lightning struck with such force that both the demon army and the city were obliterated in an instant. When the dust settled, Rang Shou Yin and his junior sister stared in horror at the destruction below. Tears streamed down her face as she held her hand over her mouth, whispering, "Xiangning City. How could it end up like this?" In a moment of sacrifice, Rang Shou Yin pushed her away from him just as another beam of light came crashing down. It struck him directly, leaving his junior sister unharmed. As he smiled gently at her one last time, she cried out, "Rang Shou Yin," but in the blink of an eye, he vanished. Then scene changed on a quiet grassland. A man lay sprawled out on the ground, completely naked except for a single leaf covering his important parts. Yep, it was Rang Shou Yin. He opened his eyes, groaning as he sat up. The last thing he remembered was pushing his junior sister away. Holding his head, he muttered, "Where am I?" Looking around, he spotted crumbled ruins in the distance and weight of a rabbit chewing grass right next to him. Still dazed, he thought, "Where are my followers?" Then he glanced down and froze. Staring at his bare body, his eyes widened in horror. "Where is my battle armor?" And finally, as his gaze dropped to the leaf, he practically screamed, "Where are my pants?" Rang Shou Yin clenched his fist, shouting into the empty grassland, "You are courting death. Who dares to mock me here?" But as his words echoed, his expression shifted. A bead of sweat rolled down his face. He froze, realization dawning, and his voice wavered. "W8. Where is my cultivation?" Extending his hand, he summoned his power, and two tiny aura bubbles appeared. They floated pathetically for a second before popping instantly. He stared blankly at his hand, his face twisting into a symbolic world loser expression. This can't be happening. But what could he do? He was alone in the grass field, staring at his hands and thinking to himself, was this punishment for my actions, or was it because our power was too overwhelming? Suddenly, a bird flew down, landing gracefully on one of his fingers. He glanced at the bird, his mind racing again. But I've never heard of the heavens punishing powerless mortals before. He gently cupped the bird in his hand, his thoughts spiraling further. What exactly happened? This scene doesn't look like it happened in just a few days. A low chuckle escaped his lips. His expression twisted, and he began laughing ominously. Could it be that the heavens are afraid of me? Afraid I will ascend and tear apart the skies? Ridiculous! The bird, sensing his villainous aura, flapped its wings in panic and flew away without a second thought. Unbothered, he pointed dramatically at the heavens and roared, "Damn heavens! You ruined everything! The empire I built with blood and sweat gone. Do you think this will break me? Make me give up? Never!" He lowered his hands, staring at them intently. "But my power is gone. Is the art of spiritual energy, the source of all my strength, still intact?" He fell silent, closing his eyes and trying to sense his aura. His brow furrowed as he muttered, "How can this be? The spiritual energy is so weak now." This is no different from the aura of a magical decline. Summoning what little energy remained, a faint bubble of aura appeared in his hand. Before he could feel any relief, it vanished in an instant. His eyes widened in shock. I can't even reach the foundation of cultivation. If someone like me is reduced to this, then the others must already be dead. Return to the earth. Suddenly, something on the ground caught his attention, a broken pendant. Picking it up, memories flooded his mind. This is the heart-guarding jade my junior sister carried with her since she was a child. His heart sank as he stared at the shattered pieces. If the jade is broken, then my junior sister must also be. Frustration bubbled up inside him. He clenched the broken jade tightly and shouted to the sky, "Damn it! Damn it all!" The weight of his plans came crashing down on him, and his mind wandered. If it weren't for those cursed heavens, I would have already captured my junior sister and interrogated her. In my own way. And by interrogation, well, you know what he means. You know what I mean, right? In his imagination, his junior sister was tied up in a revealing outfit, her delicate voice pleading. So thirsty. The thought sent saliva dripping from his mouth. He shook his head, snapping himself out of it. That wasn't my main goal. My true purpose is world domination. But the daydream persisted. In his mind, he held a cup of water near her lips. She struggled, unable to drink. He smirked villainously, lifting her face by her chin. No choice. I can't let you die of thirst. He imagined drinking the water himself, then leaning down to pass it from his mouth to hers. Was it to hydrate her? Sure, but it definitely looked more like a kiss to us. His vision continued. After coughing slightly, his junior sister glared at him with determined eyes and spat out, "Traitor, why don't you just kill me already?" He grinned devilishly, holding her chin like the perfect villain. "I am still your senior brother. I can't bring myself to do that." Hearing the words from her senior brother, the junior sister's tears welled up, gently streaming down her cheeks. At the same time, her body trembled slightly, her big melons pumping as she cried, "Senior brother, why? Why did you fall into darkness?" In response, the protagonist uncuffed her hands and scooped her up in a classic princess carry. "Don't ask," he said softly. Her cheeks flushed a light pink as she stammered, "Senior brother, what are you trying to do?" Now, I don't know about you guys, but looking at her, her legs, her face, her figure, every part of her, it was almost too much to handle. "I think I've fallen in love." Okay. Jokes aside, back to the story. The protagonist responded to her with a calm tone. "Don't worry. Until you've recovered, I won't do anything." With that, he gently placed her down and walked away from the room. Left alone, the junior sister's voice rang out softly, almost blessing him. "Might makes right. But you still showed mercy. Because we are from the same sect, you spared my life. If that's the case, does it even matter who's above and who's below?" The protagonist suddenly snapped back to reality, sitting alone in the grass field. This is how my story was supposed to unfold, he thought, his face flushing red at the memories. He waved his hands around in frustration, muttering, "Arg, I can't let myself think about this anymore." He clutched the shattered jade pendant, staring at it intently. "My half-divine body is gone. The demon army is gone. Even my junior sister is gone. I don't even have my pants anymore." Falling to his knees like a child, he broke down crying, wailing, "Everything is gone. Everything. I hate it." But then his sobs subsided, and he snapped back with fiery determination. "But I started from nothing before. Rising again shouldn't be impossible, even if it takes another 100 years of cultivation." He looked around the grassy field, muttering under his breath. But the scene shifted to Xiangning City, or at least what was left of it. The once thriving metropolis was now in ruins. Looking at the destruction, the protagonist clenched his fists in frustration. This broken world. What's the point of conquering it anymore? Back in the grass, he gathered torn-up patches to craft a makeshift blanket. Wrapping it around himself, he sighed, "Mission accomplished." Wearing the grass blanket like it was designer wear, he thought, "I'm exhausted. Might as well just lie flat and wait for death." Rolling around in the dirt like it was his last act on Earth, he suddenly stopped. "Will I see my little junior disciple after I die? Or my demon army?" But then, a strange disk appeared in the sky. Yeah, you guessed it, a UFO. The protagonist's expression shifted to annoyance as he growled, "What the heck is that? Can't even die in peace." Suddenly, panic swept over him, his eyes darting nervously. "What the?" His voice trailed off as the UFO descended, casting a yellow light onto the ground. His curiosity piqued, the protagonist muttered, "Wait, is that thing?" before instinctively leaping into the bushes to hide. From his vantage point, he grabbed a nearby rock, eyeing the light beam carefully. This monster. I've never seen or even heard of anything like it. Definitely not here for anything good. A twisted grin spread across his face as he muttered, "I don't know what it is, but at least it proves this world isn't completely empty. If there's life here, then it's still worth conquering." He peeked through the grass, watching the UFO beam flicker like it was scanning the field. Suddenly, the golden light paused in the grass. It stopped, he whispered, his evil eyes narrowing in anticipation. But what did the beam target? A lonely rabbit, blissfully unaware of its impending doom. The protagonist's jaw dropped. A rabbit? All that just to find a rabbit? What a waste of time. The beam vanished momentarily, and he sighed. The light beam stopped. But to his shock, the beam returned, firing with an intense surge of power. The poor rabbit was fried on the spot, its lifeless body collapsing into the grass. The protagonist's forehead dripped with sweat as he whispered, "The white light. It's definitely a weapon." Suddenly, a thought sparked in the protagonist's mind. Wait a second. That white light, the way it flickers at the end, it's just like the divine punishment beams. His eyes widened as he recalled his last moments from the climactic battle, the memory as clear as day. He envisioned the scene, beams of light striking down from the clouds with an overwhelming force. Could it be connected to these monsters? He thought, gripping a tree branch unconsciously. His grip tightened until the branch snapped in two, startling him. His brow furrowed as another thought struck him. If those beams during the battle weren't from the heavens, but from these things, then it wasn't divine punishment after all. The realization sent chills down his spine, but before he could delve deeper into his thoughts, the UFO zoomed off, passing right above him. Without hesitation, the protagonist shouted, "Hey!" He darted forward like an eager pup chasing a car, yelling, "I need to figure out what's going on. I can't just let it leave like this." Determined, he stopped abruptly and formed a hand sign. "Flying technique activate," he declared, his voice brimming with confidence. In that very instant, his grass blanket slipped from his shoulders, leaving him stark naked in the middle of the field. Frozen mid-action, he glanced down at his awkward, vulnerable state. For a moment, he looked like an idiot. Dropping to his knees, he groaned, "Right. I forgot. I'm just at the foundation building stage of cultivation. Fly? Yeah, right. Fly my ass." He clenched his fists and glared at the clouds in frustration. Where is that monster even heading? What is it? And what's its goal? Grumbling under his breath, he grabbed the grass blanket and wrapped it around himself again. Determination flickered in his eyes as he thought, "No, even if I can't fly, I have to follow it and see for myself. Maybe, just maybe, there's still something worth taunting around in this broken world. Some sign." Unbeknownst to him, just a short distance away, the rabbit that had been electrocuted twitched. Its tiny body quivered as it inexplicably came back to life. But the protagonist, too absorbed in his thoughts and plans, didn't notice the miraculous event. The protagonist's mind drifted back to the days when he was the feared demon lord. He envisioned himself standing tall before his countless subordinates, an intense and suffocating aura radiating from his body. Not long ago, he thought, I was the fearsome demon lord who ruled the world. The memory sharpened, and he saw himself addressing his followers with cold command. "Obey me and live. Defy me and die," he declared, his voice echoing like thunder. As his subordinates knelt before him, pressing their foreheads to the ground as if worshipping a god, a wicked smile stretched across his face. Even mortals far removed from the cultivation world trembled at the mere mention of my name, he thought, pride swelling in his chest. In a distant corner of the world, he recalled how frightened villagers spoke of him in hushed whispers. A mother cradled her baby, softly rocking the child to sleep while whispering, "Hush, if you don't sleep, the demon lord will come for you." The very thought of his name sent chills through spines and terror to the bone. But now, the present loomed harshly over him. Wearing nothing but his makeshift grass blanket, he trudged through a dry riverbed, each step a painful reminder of his current state. And now, he muttered bitterly to himself, "I'm using straw mats as pants and scavenging just to survive." Suddenly, his fists clenched tightly as he grit his teeth. Where is that monster? I've already been walking for an hour. If I don't find it, before he could finish his thought, his foot sank into a hidden pit of thick, sticky mud. His leg was swallowed up to the knee, and he stumbled forward. The sudden jerk tore his makeshift grass blanket, leaving his backside embarrassingly exposed. Frustrated, and to me, this position is too humiliating to even describe. But what can I do? Pulling his leg free with great effort, mud caked his body as he fell back onto the ground, growling in frustration. When you're unlucky, you're really unlucky, he grumbled. Lying flat on the ground, he held his head and yelled angrily. I'm furious. Sitting up with a glare at the mud pit, he hissed, the one who brought me to this miserable state. I'll never forgive them. Then, as his eyes caught his reflection in the mud, he paused. He wiped the dirt from his face, muttering, even though my face is still as handsome and charming as ever. For a moment, he stopped and frowned, startled by his own reflection. Wait, hold on, oh, it's just the mud. He cleaned his face with some effort, then admired himself again. Even though my face remains as dashing as ever, even though my body is still strong, even after walking an hour, I'm not even tired. Proof of my robust physique and incredible endurance. He grinned smugly. I've fallen in love with myself all over again. But then, his expression soured as his fist slammed into the mud. What's the point of being this amazing if there's no one left to appreciate it? He scanned his surroundings, taking in the desolation. I've walked for a whole hour and still haven't seen a soul. Could it really be that I'm the last person left in this world? The thought gnawed at him, but shaking his head, he remembered the UFO. No, he whispered. The memory of the mysterious flying object flickered in his mind. That monster could fly through the air. Maybe it's some kind of artifact, or a spirit beast. He paused, contemplating. And if it's an artifact or spirit beast, it must have an owner. Maybe there's someone alive inside it. Determined once more, he placed a hand on his throat, thinking aloud, either way, I have to find that monster. His eyes fell to his feet, noticing his now filthy green sandals. Damn it, my straw sandals are dirty now. Irritated, he removed them, holding them like discarded trash, and laughed awkwardly. I made these sandals earlier to look a little more presentable. He sighed, looking down at the ground. But when did the ground underfoot turn into stone? A realization struck him, and his eyes lit up. Orderly stone paving. How did I forget? His mind raced back to the final battle. The clash between him and his junior sister had obliterated the surroundings, but he recalled clearly. The battle had taken place just outside Xiangning City. He thought, even though my demon army was wiped out, Xiangning itself looked like a wreck from afar. But the city had tens of thousands of people. How could none of them have survived? Heart pounding, he started sprinting. And that monster. It was heading towards Xiangning. He ran faster, gripping his grass blanket tightly. It must have sensed survivors in the city, and it's heading there to finish them off. If that's the case, I have to get there fast. Our protagonist finally reached his destination, stopping just outside the massive, broken city gate. Panting heavily, he bent over for a moment, hands on his knees, trying to catch his breath. After gulping in the cool air, he straightened up, scratching his head as he stood half-naked in front of the imposing ruins. With a wry grin, he muttered, finally made it. Man, seeing a mountain up close really tires out the horse. From the air, it looks so near, yet it feels like I walked for a lifetime. Suddenly, he froze mid-sentence, his face twisting in surprise as an itch spread across his chest. He instinctively scratched at the sensation, only for a glowing ring to materialize from his chest. His eyes widened in shock. What the? Before he could process it, the ring floated into his palm, emanating a faint, ominous glow. The words spilled from his lips like a chant. Open for me, Demon Lord. Clutching the ring tightly in his hand, he examined it closely, his expression shifting from surprise to curiosity. It's actually still here. He gave the ring a testing twist, feeling the faint connection spark to life. A confident grin spread across his face. The city. There's definitely something unusual here. Switching to a more serious mood, he tightened his fist around the ring, his tone resolute. In that case, he turned toward the massive, broken doors of the city gate, his eyes narrowing. With his right hand clenched and radiating determination, he raised it and declared, City gate, open for me. He launched a powerful punch straight at the door. And then, nothing happened. Contrary to all expectations, the doors didn't budge an inch. Instead, a sickening crack echoed through the air as our protagonist's fist recoiled painfully. His face twisted into the ugliest expression imaginable, tears threatening to spill as he yelped. "OW, OW, OW, that hurts." Cradling his broken hand, he muttered through clenched teeth. Okay. Can't get in like that. Plan B it is." His eyes scanned the surroundings until he spotted a large hole in the city wall. A spark of inspiration struck him as he thought, the great demon lord. Crawling through a hole. Oh, how far I've fallen. Despite his bruised ego, he crouched down and squeezed through the gap, brushing dirt off his grass blanket as he emerged on the other side. Trying to mask his embarrassment, he declared with forced confidence, "Anyway, as long as I get inside, does it really matter how? Great achievements don't sweat the details." But as he stepped into the city, the sight that greeted him was one of utter devastation. Buildings lay in ruins, shops reduced to rubble, roads cracked and torn. Everything was destroyed. As he stood there, taking in the desolate scene, a nearby structure creaked ominously before collapsing into a heap of debris right in front of him. Dust and ash clouded the air, and he squinted through it, thinking grimly, is there really anything alive in this place? His face darkened, shadows of doubt creeping in. But he clenched his fist, forcing resolve back into his voice as he muttered, "Even if I don't find that monster, at the very least." Standing half-naked amidst the wreckage, he glanced down at his pitiful state and sighed heavily. "I need to find myself some proper clothes." Our protagonist sifted through the rubble with a focused expression, brushing away dust until he unearthed a battered book. Blowing off the dirt, he muttered, "In any case, if I want to get things back in order, it'll be necessary to keep records." He opened the book and, using a charred stick, began to scrawl inside. Note: Apocalypse 300th of June. Precise date unknown due to severe environmental conditions. This marks the first day of my survival journey. To whoever finds this notebook, you automatically inherit all my belongings and instructions. I have only one wish: to relive the glory of my past life. Don't mess it up, you fool. Satisfied with his entry, he nodded and tucked the notebook securely into his grass blanket. "All right then," he said, standing tall. "Since the heavens don't want me dead, I'll keep moving forward." Looking up at the sky, he smirked. "In the apocalypse, I'm just out here picking up clothes and showing off to the heavens. Anyway, if things go wrong, there's always a backup plan." Not long after, he found a mismatched set of clothing. He tied an apron-like garment around his chest and slipped on a half-torn pair of pants. Wait a second. Is this t-shirt even meant for men? Looks like it's designed for someone with, big melons. Still, he wore the clothes with the confidence of a king donning royal robes, as if they were the pinnacle of luxury. His scavenging eyes then landed on a bottle, catching the glint of light reflecting off it. Picking it up, he examined it closely. "What's this?" he murmured, twisting the bottle to inspect the contents. After a moment, he shrugged dismissively. "A medicinal pill, maybe? Might help someone in need." He started to walk away, but after a few steps, he froze. His face turned beet red as he made the ugliest, most awkward expression imaginable. Spinning back, he snatched the bottle up again. "I mean, it doesn't mean much to me, but if there are survivors in the city, they'll need this. In the apocalypse, mutual aid is key to survival. After we make it through, we can settle the scores." Pleased with his logic, he nodded and continued scavenging. Then he found some clothes and examined them thoroughly. And sometime later, he uncovered a large jar. Lifting it with both hands, he beamed. "Looks like I found something interesting." But when he twisted the lid off, a rancid smell wafted out, making his nose wrinkle in disgust. Holding his nose, he gagged. "What is that awful smell?" Ugh. Undeterred, he resumed searching. This time, he held up a strange, tangled object above his head. Squinting at it, he muttered, "Is this rope? Or some kind of cat's cradle? Turn on your imaginary audience." "All right, folks, I have a question for you. What do you think this is? If you know, drop it in the comments." He chuckled to himself and carried on. By the time the sun was setting, painting the ruined city in hues of gold and crimson, our protagonist sat on a rock, surveying the wreckage. Letting out a long sigh, he muttered, "I've scavenged the entire city, but the results are disappointing." He opened his notebook and began jotting down his findings. Today's haul: 3 bottles of medicinal pills, 2 sets of clothes, some gold and silver ingots, a big iron rod. Looking up at the darkening sky, his face grew somber. Not even a strand of hair or a single nail remains. It's as if everything vanished into thin air. Clenching his fist, he growled under his breath. What kind of power could have caused everything to turn to dust? Yet, a sinister grin crept across his face. If such immense power can't be used by me, then it must be destroyed. He hoisted the iron rod onto his shoulder, standing tall. Now that I'm armed and clothed, maybe I've got the strength to take on that monster. As he marched forward, his foot suddenly hit something solid. Losing his balance, he fell flat on the ground. "What the?" he barked, glaring at the offending object. Clearing the dirt, he uncovered a thick chain. Gripping it tightly, he traced its length with his eyes. The chain extended downward, disappearing into the ground. Curiosity piqued, he thought to himself, its length is something underground. The protagonist gripped the chain tightly and gave it a powerful yank. With a rumble, the ground beneath him began to shift, revealing a hidden underground passage. Dust and dirt swirled as the pathway fully opened, leading him down into a dimly lit chamber. He descended cautiously, his bare feet padding against the cool stone floor, until he came across an astonishing sight, a 2-story structure buried beneath the surface. The walls were smooth and well-preserved, standing in stark contrast to the chaos above. "Where am I?" he muttered, his voice echoing faintly in the cavernous space. He glanced to both sides of the room, his sharp instincts flaring. The situation is unclear. I should head back up to grab the iron rod before exploring further. As he turned toward the passageway to retrieve his weapon, a faint aroma wafted through the air. His steps halted mid-stride. Inhaling deeply, his eyes widened. This scent, it was familiar, achingly so. His nose twitched, and his dog-like instincts kicked in. Sniffing the air again, he thought, "Let me confirm. No mistake. It's her scent." Recognition struck him like lightning, and his thoughts spiraled into chaos. Junior sister? His mind conjured an image of his junior sister in an outfit far too revealing, her body teasingly accentuated in ways that made his cheeks flush. He wrapped his arms around himself, his face twisting into a perverted grin as he mumbled, "Her fragrance is so unique. So sweet. I can't believe it. This must be her bedroom, hidden underground." Realizing the absurdity of his thoughts, he shook his head violently, snapping himself out of his daydream, though his heart raced with excitement. Without another second of hesitation, he sprinted toward the building, his voice echoing through the underground chamber. "Junior sister, your senior brother has come to honor your memory." Alright, that's a wrap for today's video. Thanks for sticking around till the end. You're the real MVP. If you're itching for more of this series, drop a comment and let me know. And hey, if you want front row seats to the next part, go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, and get ready for your notification dance when the next video drops. Catch you next time.